Hey guys, welcome to SAP Mix Studio Umbiamas, conectando Aruba com o mundo via vídeo podcasting. Conectar conosco, compartilhar ideias e histórias para nos inspirar e para conan abrir. SAP Mix Studio é plataforma de podcast na Aruba. Follow-nos no Facebook, subscribe no YouTube ou na plataforma de podcast preferida. Escute o podcast preferido que hora e onde cutar. SAP Mix Studio, powered by Subway. Passa na Subway para o sop, salada, wrap ou flatbread e mais fresco. Cucheta localidade rond Aruba. Nós está cerca de Ibo. Subway. Swing Masters. Organizando events, conferences of weddings. Mister de luz, sound, staging, DJ, trussing ou flat screen. Swing Masters está claro para ser boa fiesta êxito. Swing Masters. E agora, SAP Mix Studio é plataforma de podcast de Aruba, está apresentar.
Good morning if you just woke up.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's give our thanks to our sponsors, Subway and Swing Masters, for making this awesome podcast possible and connecting the community through live streaming. Introductions?
For anybody new here, my name is Jean-Luc. I am a student at the University of Aruba and I've had an interest in tech and games my entire life.
Bruce Harms here, digital evangelist, coder dojo champion, and highly interested in technology and its impact on the community, and that's what this show is about. And welcome again. We're here today. It's been about 20-something shows. That's half a year if you count every week, 52 weeks. And thank you for being here or coming back later, as usually what happens. And Jean-Luc has suggested that we talk a little bit about the year.
For anybody who's been listening and or watching us for our run, this is going to be the last podcast for this year.
For 2021, yes.
2021. And I thought it would be very neat to do a brief recap on some key things that happened during the year in the world of crypto or on the show.
On technology and what we're about, right? So, let's talk about what's going on right now.
All right.
So we're in a major cryptocurrency value crash, right?
What are you talking about?
We're in a crash.
It's
in a dip.
It's the Christmas sale, you know. It's like on Steam. There's a winter sale. The all cryptocurrencies are up to 40%, up to 50% off.
Right.
This winter
So
season.
what are you saying, Jean-Luc? Go ahead and buy.
If you can afford it, definitely go ahead and buy some cryptocurrencies. It would definitely be a very interesting Christmas gift for any family or friends that you would know have been planning to get some but couldn't figure it out.
Right.
And since it's in a dip right now, a lot of people are assuming that, of course, we're going to bounce back.
Well, let's do it the way it should be then. Go to our Discord. We'll be sharing a link later, but you can basically just go to localnftstore.com, and that's a collaboration between Tech Impact and Local Store, and we have a whole community of let's call them crypto advocates, students of NFTs, students of blockchain, but basically we're a community of people that have a huge interest, and it's a place where we can learn about it, and definitely there's people in there that can help you onboard some crypto if you want to do some gifting. And I have right here, Jean-Luc, the coin market cap of today.
Ooh.
And I'm Mr. Cardano.
Of course,
I love
yes,
Cardano.
yes.
And there's a part of me that says, it kind of sucks that it did not go. I mean, we talked about the potential value in our way back.
Yeah.
In our first show, and we were kind of hoping for a $4 to $5, let's call it plateau, right? And it didn't happen. And of course, it reminds me of that famous scene in Wolf of Wall Street. It's a fugazi, it's a fugazi, it's fairy dust, it doesn't exist. And least of all, traders can know what's going to happen. And I think that's the case always with any cryptocurrency. But if you believe and understand that these crashes and dips, they're all cyclical. And if you look at it long enough, go ahead and buy. Now's a great time to buy. So my feeling is, I can get Cardano at a good price.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I can get Cardano at a good price. I mean, I bought it at 30 cents.
Yeah.
In the end of 2020. So I'm already kind of up. And then I onboard a little bit every month. That's my next recommendation. We talked to our producer a little bit this morning. And people always ask, so how much should I put in? And one of the answers we got at the university from a couple of crypto advocates, well, 0 is always a bad idea.
Yeah.
So put in a little bit. Learn about it by buying a little. So
only invest as much as you can afford to lose.
Exactly. So I've been investing
always.
maybe $100 in periods that I could do it. Right now I can't. But you know, Cardano right now is at $1.20. I think it maxed at what? Was it 280?
Yeah. 280 something.
$2.80, and now it's at 120. I saw it at 114 like a day ago or 2 days ago. I would definitely buy a little bit more at this price.
Something that I believe would explain this major market-wide crash would be most people would probably be selling out in order to buy, the gifts for everybody.
Sure,
and fund their Christmas vacay,
But I mean, let's look at the numbers,
Or
right? So, guys, we're gonna now go into our new segment. So, Bitcoin BTC is right now priced at 46,000. So, are we really talking about a crash here?
It's not as bad as a few months ago when Bitcoin reached like 30K.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then Ethereum, look, it's at 3,900. Which is, to me, it's retained a stable point.
Of course.
So I don't see this as a
concern.
Not at all. Not a concern at all. I mean, look, I'm looking at Polkadot. Polkadot took a big hit though.
Yeah.
That went down. It's at $25. I think we saw it at 40.
Oh wow.
So that's a big hit. I mean, Cardano. So you could see that all the altcoins, the big boys, they took a major hit. I'm looking at Litecoin right now. It's at 148. Uniswap at $15.
Uniswap is at $15?
$15.
Or $15,000.
Uniswap says here 15.54.
Wow.
Chainlink is at 19. And Algorand 138. Algorand and Cardano are always a bit similar.
Yeah.
They also share a lot of same structured DNA. They have that same DNA of voting systems
earlier you mentioned that you wanted to talk about something called Algorave.
Oh, you want to use that? That's a good moment. Yeah, Algorave.
Yeah.
Yes, let's do that for a second.
What's the difference between Algorand and Algorave?
You're good. Wow, we're gonna have to come back to that. Okay, because Algorand is a crypto and Algorave is a musical scene.
Oh,
you thought it was a crypto?
I thought it was a crypto.
Oh
yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
No, we'll come back to that later.
I thought it was like a derivative of like Algorand, how we have like Bitcoin Cash.
Do you know what a rave is?
I know what a rave is. Yes.
Okay. Well.
It's those like parties with like lights and specifically EDM music.
What is EDM?
Electronic dance music. So what we're listening to right now.
Yeah.
That could be considered EDM. Yeah.
Well, okay. We're just gonna have to dive in. We've gone too deep.
Okay.
We are actually listening to a performance by DJ Dave. And DJ Dave is doing a live coded original set right now for GitHub Universe.
Wow.
And as you can imagine, what's interesting about Algorave is that DJ Dave explains in a very cool video. I'll be sharing that later on. Is that it was kind of a joke that people are dancing to algorithms.
Algorithms. Yeah,
So
yeah.
they put those two together.
It's funny how algorithm has rhythm in it.
Yeah, but anyway, there's a website called algorave.com where a bunch of artists have pulled together, and they're about coding music. And
Wow.
let's dive a bit deeper into that. So I've been learning about that. I've been learning how to code music.
Yes,
I
yes.
use something called Sonic Pi. And there's a bunch of software out there that does that. And I'll give some names. There's something called Super Collider. I think that's sort of, I guess the engine, you could say, that code does something and then boom, sound comes out.
Oh.
In Sonic Pi, I'm running code to run music. And the movement is about is seeing the code
In front of
live.
you, yeah.
That's the whole point. The point is that you can watch someone manipulate code and give a performance, and it's happening real time. And there's a purity there, because they're saying when DJs mess around with their equipment, you really don't have any idea what they're doing. It's very obscure.
Yeah.
And when they're down there, they could be checking their Twitter account and they're going like this. And what's interesting is like watching the code. It's like watching a guitar player play, and you're not a guitarist, but you can appreciate that. That's pretty skillful. And the code does that as well. When you're looking, even though you don't really know what's going on, if you're not a coder, what happens is you're trying to figure out what they're doing. So you'll see someone, for example, excuse me.
Yeah,
me
you
have a
got
drink,
it. Yeah. Okay. So it's similar to writing a sheet of music on the spot as you are performing it.
That is only the one layer.
That's only one.
So,
layer,
for
yeah.
example, like a DJ, right now, what we're listening to is you can see the code, and you'll see her start adding and manipulating stuff, and then you can see something called cutoff.
Cutoff.
And in cutoff, they do that with a knob, but she'll do it with code.
Oh.
What's really powerful of this type of way of approaching music is that you can actually get to functions much quicker, because an interface is also deep.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen a synthesizer's manual?
No.
There's synthesizers out there. There are 400 pages of oscillators and how you can manipulate the signal, basically. And I find coding much quicker if you know what you're doing. So you'll see them manipulate the cutoff point.
Interesting.
And if you're a good DJ, you might be able to do live coding, but you still need to be a good DJ. So I am not a good DJ. I don't know what that is. I've live performed as a guitar player, and I'm learning how to do this. I'm experimenting at home, but I don't know how to create an experience just yet. So there's a lot of creativity there.
So Algorave is basically a very niche movement of a bunch of coders coding music live.
Right. And the music, you said it's like a sheet of music. It's not. It's actually a lot of things. So for example, you need a melody.
Yeah.
So music theory helps. So for example, I did, and I'm going to go a little bit technical here, I created some chords over the key of E Dorian, because I'm a guitar player. Yeah, I learned a little bit about that. And I actually made a little piece of code that randomly selects notes from a scale of Dorian over the chords. And then I create another randomization between the spaces, and then I got this beautiful kalimba going over, and I'll display that later on. But I'm using code, and I'm using the power of randomization to create something cool. So it's also surprising, and people ask in one of those performances, is it set? And no, because when you start something in a live setting, you might end up somewhere else, but you can never duplicate it.
Yeah, yeah.
And and here we go. Let me finish with the conclusion. Approaching code as a creative outlet instead of a functional
Oh, definitely.
outlet,
Yeah.
right? So
yeah.
code could be a way to express yourself, and that's what I think is really interesting. And Sonic Pi and Sam Aaron created Sonic Pi as an educational tool to teach kids how to code.
Yeah.
But now it's turned into a full-fledged live studio for free. For free, anybody can download it. Oh, and it will run on a Raspberry Pi. But you're right. This community is about code becoming an expressive medium,
Wow.
and we're listening to it right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So let me go a little bit further. This is so.
Will we get copyrighted?
What do you mean?
Will we get copyrighted?
No, because it's a session. It's a performance.
Oh, okay.
So
It is a concern, you know.
obviously, she's not that famous yet,
Oh.
but she's famous in that niche community. She's like one of the best DJs. I also want to touch on another website called Top Lab. So it's
Top Lab?
TOPLAP,
Oh, top lap.
and it's sort of a organization that can give you a badge.
A badge?
Yeah,
For what?
for being a expressive musician. They will check if you're a true live coder, and you can get sort of a Top Lab badge.
A certification.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very interesting. It was founded in the UK, you could say. In
wow.
the UK, they
Of
started
course.
this, of course, because most of our stuff comes from the UK nowadays.
As in rave music.
Yeah. And what's interesting? Do you know about the famous Amen beat?
No. Or I've probably heard it and I'll probably recognize it, but I do not know it by the Amen beat.
Okay, I'm gonna attempt something here.
You're gonna
Yeah.
attempt something here?
Well, while we're talking, so the Amen beat
Uh-huh.
it's the most sampled beat in history.
Is it the Powerpuff Girls beat?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes,
hey.
exactly. Let me see. Amen. Let me see if I can get it.
It's very famous in the drum and bass genre of music.
Let me look for it. Loop, drum, loop.
Loop.
Loop, amen. Here we go.
Or something like that.
Here we go.
Yeah.
You hear it?
This
So
one, yeah.
let me put it in a loop for. So I'm coding right now.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna do a live loop dupe. Live loop.
Hopefully by next year's, dear viewers, we will be able to share the screen live on the stream in
Yeah.
order so that we could show like the articles or whatever it is that is currently on our screen that we can't show you. So
Sleep.
patience,
2.
please. Oh, there we go.
Right. So let's do something to it.
Uh-huh.
Rate.
This is a long conclusion. Gross.
Yeah, gross, right?
But so you can speed it up, you can slow it down.
Let me beat stretch it to the
Beat stretch it.
beat
Are
stretch.
you gonna
for-
make it longer? Oh. Interesting. Very, very interesting.
This is the beat of Straight Outta Compton,
Straight.
Dr. Dre,
Oh.
right? And here we go. That's the normal one.
Yeah.
And then if we go a little bit like 1.2. Okay.
I recognize that
Okay.
one.
So interesting little tidbit is that that sample has been used a million times, and
Probably an understatement.
yeah, but as you can see, with simple code, I'm already creating music, and in the community of sampling, right? This is a super powerful tool. So going back, you can import samples and you can manipulate them live with code.
Wow.
And that's the power. And in the presentation of Sam Aaron, the creator of the software, yeah, I have to bring the music down. The creator of the software, he's all about empowering the younger generation to get into coding for different reasons.
Yeah.
So Coders are usually checking lists and indexing, creating software, and
Stack Overflow.
it's all pretty boring stuff, right? But if you can show a kid, hey, look, I turned this beat around. It's something more real world. There's an application, there's a feeling, and we need to inspire people. And the most important message he brings across is that code is one of the greatest inventions that ever came out of mankind. You can write a language that does things for you.
Yeah.
And even worse, it can do things beyond your own capability.
Definitely.
So, and that's the essence of Tech Impact, really, is that we started a Coder Dojo, right? And from Coder Dojo, I stumbled upon this as a musician myself. And I'm really inspired. And another thing is that it is a community. So what do you get? You get highly engaging members.
Very.
Not like sending a message to an influencer, because they don't have time for that, right? But here I'm already part of a thread, and I've already coded some drums. I shared it with the community. They liked it.
Cool.
And things are happening. And I'm kind of hoping that next year we'll bring somebody down.
If anybody's interested, let us know. Join the Discord.
Yeah. So again, I have a workshop coming up. It will be available for purchase. It's going to be a fundraiser, and I will be doing a workshop on how to create music with code. I've already created some of my own, and I'm already using it as a drum machine, right? So I've created some drums to accompany me on the guitar. But I'll definitely want to do a workshop for anybody, really, for kids, for adults, for musicians, and then empower them with this new exciting tool. And what's happening to me is that I have so much experience with DAWs, like Logic and Pro Tools and GarageBand.
What is a DAW? Oh, those are DAWs. Okay.
Yeah, those are DAWs.
Yeah.
But that's why the reference. I personally really always enjoyed GarageBand. Why? Because it's simple. I can start creating music really quickly with a couple of clicks. It has no deep interfaces. It's double click, boom, and you got your reverb going. You got your synchronization going. You got the BPM going. And I feel like Pro Tools is too deep. So it's too much. And you're ending up becoming an expert of an interface, but not really a good musician, you know?
Fair.
And I feel like this coding environment can create that for you. That instantaneous, get that thing done that you want. If you understand sound, you'll understand code.
Very interesting. Just a lot of information.
Sorry, I've been into it. I've done some workshops. Clearly. So that's so guys, we're gonna end the section of Algorave. Algorave's very cool. I think it's very interesting, and I'm gonna be starting to expose this to the community, and hopefully we'll get some coders to experiment with that as well.
Where are you going to post the dates or hours?
On Soppy Mix, probably.
Soppy
This will be a Tech Impact workshop.
All right.
And
next year, most
next
likely?
year,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So we went from Algorave to Algorave, and I got I exploded with info there. But going back to the year, so safety. Crypto safety.
Yeah.
Right? Something we touched on that many times. From warnings for wallets, do your due diligence, own the crypto for real, avoid escrow services or middlemen. Is there anything you want to recap right now that comes to mind when it comes to, protecting your own digital assets?
Mainly when we had Interpol here.
Yeah. A shout out to our friend Ruslen. And that was very, it was intense, It's a lot of information. And
While not necessarily crypto related, it basically boils down to don't click shady links.
Yeah, and just like when we talked to our friend Paul, right? About hackers and exploits.
We're the exploit.
The human being is easily manipulated, Manson. Every single person can be engineered to do things. So that's what they call the social engineering. So these are these words, these cool words we learned as a show, right? I've never heard of social engineering until I met Rutlen.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I know what it is as soon as you give me the example. I mean, every single television series like Catch Me If You Can displays social engineering, how, Leonardo DiCaprio convinces people that he's a pilot. It's all social engineering, right?
Another very, very important thing is keeping your passphrase safe, somewhere safe.
Yeah, so Jean-Luc is right. A passphrase is something you're given for your wallet. We got a question?
We got a question. Well, where?
Oh, I have to. Let me pull up.
Yes.
Yes, we do. We own NFTs. Thank you for that question. I own 3 NFTs. 2 of them are from the project Local Store NFT, so localnftstore.com. I've bought 2 of the 99 bottles, and this gives us access to cool things coming up. So we're probably going to have a little get together, and Local Store will be releasing that event soon. And I also minted my own picture of my wife. I took a picture of my wife that she was dancing, and I put on it the feeling you get when you get Ada. So, but I haven't bought like a famous or drop yet.
No.
But I plan to when in next year when we have a little bit more budget. Usually, do you own NFTs?
Yes, I also own one of the Local Store NFT
Bottles?
Yeah. And I also own some NFTs from the Engine platform.
And Engine is ENJIN, right?
Yes,
Engine.
Yes. We spoke about it when our friend Brandon was here.
Yeah. Brandon Wong.
Yeah,
Shout out to Brandon, man. How you doing?
Engine, yes, and it was from a NFT game where it's basically just a dungeon crawler, and a reward that you can get by completing the dungeon is a blockchain item, and it's an
Cool.
NFT.
Cool.
I paid 0. I paid nothing for it, and but I also didn't buy any like of the apes thing. Yeah, it's crazy. This year was the year of the NFTs, to be honest.
Yeah, it's when we talk about NFT, when people ask me about NFT, it's kind of ridiculous when you go through it, right? So the cyberpunk, for example, which is the pixel, let's call them pixel heads, really simple, and they were going for ridiculous amounts of Ethereum, which is translated into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's explain that a little bit, or I'll give my explanation what I think is going on, and let's not assume that I'm right, but it's just in the community of crypto holders. People have been in this industry or this space for a long time. So let's imagine a couple of people that bought Ethereum when it was $10, a lot of it, or they've mined actually in a period, and they have all this extra Ethereum, and those are the people that pay for these NFTs. Why? Because they can appreciate in value because they were first.
Yeah.
But it's a hyper niche community, right?
It is.
It's
very
super
hyper-niche.
specialized. And for you to go and buy the CryptoPunks, I would not suggest that. It should be from people that just have all this extra cash lying around.
If you can afford it, go ahead, right? Since some of
If you can afford $100,000 worth of an NFT, I don't know, Jean-Luc.
I mean, we're assuming here that this is something that they want to invest in.
I think that's bad advice. You can,
We're not financial advisors.
No, exactly. So I say don't do it. If you have 100,000 and you can lose it, don't buy an NFT. Buy some crypto. Buy some Bitcoin, and the safest ones. But again, I don't believe in that space that way. You learn about it.
Yacht Club.
Yeah. Oh, the Ape Yacht Club. But by the way, that looks great though.
What?
If I would splurge on an NFT, at least I would like looking at it. I would love to hey, look at what I bought, and I can show you it, and people go like, whoa, that's pretty cool. But the cyberpunk is already you're gonna have to explain. Did you really pay that much money for that pixel art that a 5-year-old could probably do?
I mean, it's art, it's in the eye of the beholder,
Is it? Yeah, but again, there's a difference between. I don't know. You're right. I don't know. But I think in art is one of the most difficult things to quantify into value. I think it's all about a group of people saying that this has value.
Yep, and that's what happened with Yacht Club.
Well, aren't they part of a bigger community? They're
Not that I'm aware of, to be honest.
yeah, they're not like Ethereum people.
Of course they're
Like
Ethereum
one of them
people.
is a designer somewhere in there, or
Possibly.
he's in the team that launched. Who knows? Those things I don't know.
The only thing that I've researched into this is, of course, the prices of how much Ethereum that they go by, and the privileges, the bonuses you get by owning one of these. Right?
Yeah, that's another thing, right? So there's many. If I release a 100 series landscape photography NFT, nobody's gonna buy it. There's no reason to buy it, even though it's out there. That's the problem of getting artists on the NFT space. You need to have an established audience.
Yeah.
And you have to and in our case, what we're trying to do is build a community
On the island.
On the island, right? But that's kind of the Achilles heel of getting into that space. By the way,
Tell me.
Crypto.com doing enormous marketing.
Oh.
I saw an ad on YouTube last night with what's his name again? Goodwill Hunting. Goodwill Hunting.
I'm not a movie person.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sorry.
1 second.
Who? Matt Damon?
Matt Damon. Yes.
Yeah?
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, producer. Yeah, Matt Damon. Huge production scene. He's looking over Mars, right? Because he's the Martian from the movie The Martian.
Yeah.
And then the logo Crypto.com comes up. And I'm like, oh man, they just invested millions of dollars for advocacy from a famous influencer. Crypto.com. He also did The Insider. That's the documentary on the fiasco of 2007 of packaged mortgages and whatnot. The whole stock market crash.
Yeah.
Derivatives. Oh yeah, UFC. Yes. Jeff is on it today, man. Yes, UFC is also so people are finding this Crypto.com.
UFC sponsored Crypto.com.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're going big. And okay, why am I, because they're an NFT marketplace.
Oh.
They sell NFTs. And who's on Crypto.com? Snoop Doggy Dogg.
Of course.
And all the sports entertainment industry. So, yesterday I had this question from someone. Yeah, but why do I need to care about blockchain? I'm like, you don't, but it's going to happen. Because in my article that I sent out to the Chamber of Commerce, was recognizing that the entertainment industry is going deep.
Yeah.
Because now publishers have a problem. Their role is diminishing as the middleman, the connections to distribution of creative assets like music, or movies or series. Now you can do it directly through one platform like Crypto.com or OpenSea.
You could.
But if you have to be Snoop Dogg.
You have to have a major following, yeah.
I'm going to say something risky. Please, everybody, check on this. I think that Snoop Dogg has made more money with NFTs than he's had with all his albums.
That's a very bold claim.
I think so, because he's in a totally different space. Because when you produce albums, they cost a lot of money, and you have to share that piece with everybody. So you have to print CDs, you got to distribute, you got to, so there's a margin there. But now you've got digital assets. There's really no cost except for minting, and then directly straight to the device. You're bypassing all this cost and huge reach. In a split second, not in a period of, radio and concerts.
Sponsorships.
So I boldly say, yes, you will make more money if you're famous, especially an artist like that, if you enter this space right now correctly. And,
Interesting.
And Crypto.com has just invested millions of dollars for pushing that platform.
So another very, very interesting thing that happened was this year was the first time Bitcoin reached 60K.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a lot of milestones. Yeah.
Right?
60K. Oh, man.
Ethereum also reached its all-time high. this year.
Yeah, true. Yeah, those are great milestones.
Right.
Well, Cardano as well.
Oh, well, Cardano as well. Yeah.
I think a lot of altcoins did that this year.
And then it crashed, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is it. This is it, boys. This is it, everybody." This is
Yeah, but I think that's so funny. I have a couple of business friends. Names shall not be named. Where I was super excited, and I was telling them about it, and then that first crash in summer, well, a little dip, and hey, did you lose all your crypto? And they laughingly, I'm like, no, and they're like, yeah, but didn't it just crash? I'm like, well, no, because I bought at 30 cents, and now it dipped into $2. That was Cardano back in. It dipped to $2. Now it did a major adjustment, right? And I think you're right. People are offboarding to buy some Christmas gifts.
It would make sense, you know.
Yeah. Oh man.
What I always I remember us talking about it with somebody where they're like, "This is a very big crash." I'm like, "No, it only reached 30K. There've been worse crashes," and because a lot of people onboarded on the cryptocurrency this year, as far as I'm aware,
Yeah.
a lot of them were panicking because that was like almost half of the value that dropped, right, from 60K or like 62K to 32K. But now we're back to 49, and a few months ago it was at 50. But it's not gone lower than that. There was a time where Ethereum was like $100 and it dipped into $18.
Well, the music is very uplifting, so I'm
Yes.
feeling uplifted.
Speaking about Bitcoin, El Salvador.
Oh, go.
El Salvador.
That is so controversial.
Really?
People, I hear, I didn't dive much into it, but when I was part of the discussion group at the investment club, I had a lot of people, reacting like, yeah, El Salvador, it's all corrupt, and but then other people are like, no, but it's a great experiment. There's a lot of good things going on. So what do you know about that?
I'm aware of the reputation, the negative reputation that El Salvador might have amongst certain people.
Right.
As a very, very corrupt. There's a lot of criminal activities that happens over there and everything, right? But two major things happened, right? They announced their volcano mining facility, right?
Okay, right.
So it uses the thermal energy of their local volcano in order to help power their Bitcoin farm, which makes it absolutely green energy, because or else that the volcano itself would be wasted, right? And the other is the fact that it is now legally recognized as a legal currency. The fact that the government accepts it and you can do everything with it.
Break it down even more simple. People can get paid in Bitcoin.
People can pay
Their
their
salaries.
Yeah.
Will be in Bitcoin.
And they can pay their taxes
Yeah,
in
so
Bitcoin,
it's that is the most legal way possible, right? So imagine if I say to my werkgever here, I don't want to get paid in AWG, I want to get paid in Bitcoin, and somehow that's all taxed correctly.
Yeah.
The AZV gets paid, which would be crazy. Absolutely bonkers, right? I just pulled up another article from CoinDesk. Behind the scenes of El Salvador's Bitcoin bond. With the man who designed it, and there's a picture of construction workers who are paid in Bitcoin, and they're doing basically one of the most radical financial experiments in the world.
Definitely. It's
Right.
a society on blockchain. So it's going to be a very, very, very interesting few years to see how it affects. And if nothing changes, then that's great.
Yeah.
If nothing changes, then it just shows that it is a viable method of being able to have other currency. But I've also heard, and I haven't been able to, I haven't necessarily looked into this, but El Salvador is also planning to make a Bitcoin city.
Yeah, it's right here. You're talking, and they're Bitcoin city. Yeah.
So a entire city that is basically exclusively Bitcoin, right? And smart contracts, and trying to see how much they can implement the blockchain into day-to-day lives. And it is a very extreme thing, right?
Yeah.
And understandably, there are many concerns to that. But I see it as a very interesting experiment to see how far can we take it.
There was a Bitcoin street in Amsterdam a long time ago.
Oh.
And where they experimented with that Bitcoin payment system.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem I have with being paid in Bitcoin.
Gas fees.
Yeah, but being paid in Bitcoin is actually really good. But paying for things in Bitcoin is a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Getting it bad, giving it no.
Yeah,
getting it good,
if I'm
giving
getting
it
paid in
bad.
Bitcoin, I'm with all disclaimers in check. I'm actually getting paid in something that's going to appreciate in value.
Long term.
Any term, really. Okay, let's look at the flip side of things. I'm being paid in dollars.
Yeah, it is depreciating right now as we speak.
Hyperinflation, all that great stuff that we're dealing with right now, and it is totally radical. We had like a big discussion about dollarization, but let's not do that because that's kind of complicated. So turning Aruba, going away from the AWG and going straight into dollar.
Oh,
well, it seems that
There
way
are
we'll
benefits.
save a lot of transaction costs
interesting.
because everything we buy, and we buy everything, has to turn the AWG into a dollar.
Yeah.
Because most things have to be paid for in dollars. If you want to pay in euros, even worse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but let's not do that. There's a bunch of experts out there. We're going to have to invite someone. We'll probably invite a shout out to Randall Descartes. He was a great panelist at the university. Very talented guy, knows a lot about the central banks, and he was really open to listen to us advocates. And I'm a huge advocate of the ledger technology and what it can mean.
Yeah.
You know, and inderdaad, I think El Salvador is a great talking point, and it's a great thing that's happening. That one whole country is trying to make enormous changes with all the risks involved.
Yeah.
You know.
So this will actually show whether it is sustainable, whether it can work, you know. Since
Well,
that's the
sustainable. Sustainable. I think it goes deeper. Excuse me. I think it goes deeper. I think it is it sustainable? Is it beneficial?
Is it
I
beneficial?
think yeah. That's an even bigger word. It's more encompassing, right? Is it beneficial to a whole country, and specifically to a citizen, a worker? You know, and I've had this discussion now a lot with people that talk about a lot of resistance from people about what Bitcoin is. And a lot of people don't even know where it came from. And I didn't know. I didn't know until I had to write the article. And when I try to explain this to people, they really cannot wrap around an initiative of someone that wanted to make a difference with no financial benefit.
Yeah.
Or maybe, who knows?
We don't.
Maybe he participated just like everybody else, or she.
Satoshi's we know that the first transaction, so the first Bitcoin mined, went to a certain account.
Okay.
Right? And we know that that's for certain Satoshi's account, right?
Right.
It hasn't been touched since then.
Right.
So either real Satoshi lost it, which would be painful reality for them, whoever they are, or they're playing it very, very long term.
But Jean-Luc,
Tell me.
there's no reason for him to have had to make this little plan, because he made the plan. He distributed this technology
The
as
white
an
paper.
open. He released the white paper. It's open source. It is 1,000% complete participation. Hey, you can mine and get paid in crypto. What's the question, Jeff? Koyorato, Jean-Luc.
1 second, please.
1 second, guys. We're getting lots of reactions, and we appreciate that. Can I read it?
Jurgen J. Trump. Read it out loud.
Yeah, so from Jurgen, we got a question. Most Arubans aren't aware or interested in cryptocurrency. I would imagine NFTs being even more strange for them. What vision do you guys have with local store partnership, and how are you planning to market it? Well, Jurgen, everything you just said is totally valid. We understand that we're niche, and what this show is about is to spark interest.
Yeah.
And we're getting like great reaction from specialists. That's absolutely happening. But we're also getting lots of questions. And if we're getting questions, we're doing something right. And to answer your question about this partnership with Local Store has a couple of stakeholders in there that are really passionate about crypto. And what our strategy is education, advocacy, adoption.
Yeah.
So our vision is to basically start really small and work our way up. It's the hardest way to do things, but it's the most sustainable way. So we want to build a community. If you want to learn more, you join, and if you can even get other people to join, that's great too. And we have many different walks of life in our community. We have people that actually have a business in cryptocurrency. We have people that are holders of a lot of crypto, and they were interested in learning more. And we have people that are using it as an educational platform. So they come in there, and for example, we had shout out to Francesca, one of our good friends, and she came over to our meetup, and Jean-Luc helped her install her wallet, and we helped her get her first NFT going.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was having great discussions with financial experts that are into the crypto space, and I'm not that guy, and they actually teach me a lot. So what's happening? We get together, and our combined knowledge teaches each other. So that's a bit of our vision, and I hope we kind of answered your question.
To build on that, the main goal is to build interest, right?
Right.
You've mentioned, not a lot of people are even aware of cryptocurrencies
Absolutely.
or NFTs, right? So this is to spread awareness. But it is also for those who are aware of it, have been interested, but never really got to take the initiative to, or got the opportunity or time to get into it, that it's also to invite them to join, to ask.
Yeah.
And we would gladly help them pretty much for free.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, we're not doing anything for financial reasons. More, if we want to participate in an industry that is growing, the best thing to do is adoption. So at the very least, you can participate by just owning a wallet.
Yep.
If you own a local store NFT, if you get that far, you go to our website, you somehow get ADA. If you don't get ADA, you come to us, we can help you get ADA.
Join our Discord.
You send over, right now it's much cheaper, it's 15 ADA, so the value's down.
Yeah.
You'll get a little icon and you'll hold it in your wallet, and that's kind of cool. I learned about NFTs and now I hold it. It's in my browser and it's on the chain, and I can prove that. And I got the one with the Aruban flag, which is kind of cool. I wanted that one. Yeah. And hopefully we're going to get together and only holders have access to these small events. But if somebody is on the other side of the line and we're having some nice beers for free, they can actually join by getting that NFT now.
But there was one final tier that I didn't get into yet.
Sorry, go ahead.
So we had the people who aren't aware. It is to make them aware. We had the people who are kind of interested, never got interested. It's to invite them over. And then we have the people who are actively participating within the crypto community.
Right.
But not locally. It is so that we can also get to know who these people are. And so that we can form and get to know all of the crypto people on the islands and be able to, of course, build that community as well.
But I do want to come back to one sentence that most people are not interested in crypto. In my experience, obviously, because we have a show, I'm actually getting a lot more questions about, hey, could you show me? Could you let me know? So a lot of my friends are actually asking me more about cryptocurrency. I think the interest is high, but going into adopting it that's that threshold we're trying to work on.
Just like at the beginning of the show, the major issue with adoption is this major hill major block of terms and concepts.
Yes, yes,
That you
absolutely.
get flooded with, and that's why we made the show. So thank you for watching. Thank you if you're still here.
And you know, we're hitting the 50-minute mark,
Oh wow!
and we did sort of a recap, but I thought we got the best questions of the whole year, and I want to thank the whole community for supporting us and listening to us, and I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm hoping for a much more clear roadmap year in 2022. It's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be out of the woods. There's a lot of problems, but that's why cryptocurrency gives hope. There's a lot going on. Any final conclusions, Jean-Luc, before we say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year?
It's been a wild ride. 2021 was a blur. 2020 was a blur. 2021 was very, very new, especially with this entire show. If you guys would like to get on in any way, shape, or form on this show next year, please contact us or join our Discord.
Just go join Discord. We have a Tech Impact channel.
Yeah. And thank you guys so much for watching. And till next year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we're out.
Happy New Year.